Truth Act Forum from yesterday's meeting. I want to take the time to acknowledge the events that transpired last night. During the public comment portion of the Truth Act Forum, we were unable to continue with the meeting as a result of a member of the public who was being disruptive. It was not following the board rules of procedure. This person was unwilling to leave the chamber. It did not allow us to continue with the forum. I really want to express my most sincere apologies to the community members who took time out of their busy schedules to attend last night's forum. This board, particularly, when I ran for office, I ran really committed to ensuring that our communities had an opportunity to be heard and for their voices to be part of the dialogue and the conversation and for them to be part of the process. And so it was really disheartening that after all of the organizing, all of the work that we did, they were not be able to participate last night. And that I wanted to make sure the decision was made because this board really strives to make sure that we create a safe and welcoming environment where everyone has the opportunity to share their voices and experiences as it relates to our public safety. So I want to make sure that I want to not only thank all the organizations who do so much to educate our community on some of the pressing issues, but I also understand that there was some frustration and dissatisfaction among our community members due to last night's actions. And so I want to acknowledge that this was not an easy decision to make last night, but it was a necessary action to ensure a respectful and productive environment for all. So as I think most of you know, that I am a former organizer and someone who's been involved, actively involved as an advocate in the immigrant community, an advocate in immigrant issues and immigrant community for over 3 decades. So I understand the hard work it takes to engage with the community on such issues and recognize that it takes courage to speak out and share such personal experiences. So to all the organizations and community members, you have my commitment to continue to provide a safe space and to work together to identify ways to improve the structure of the Truth Act Forum to create safe and healthy communities for all. And today we're continuing the meeting from yesterday. We're going to have the discussion, but then you have my commitment that we're going to have other opportunities even before the next Truth Act to have direct conversations with our sheriff and with our team to ensure that our goals are being met. So with that, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. I'd like to note that Vice Chair Lawson-Remer is absent. With that, Supervisor Anderson.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Chairwoman Vargas.
Just to be clear, this is a continuation of yesterday's meeting. So just to start the meeting on a good foot, all of the warnings that were provided to folks yesterday continue on today. And so I have a list of the folks who had been warned for disrupting the meeting. And so just want to make sure I remind them of those, and those will apply today. So thank you very much.
Chairwoman Vargas will resume public comment from yesterday on item 15, the Truth Act. As indicated, we have 17 remaining speakers, 10 in person and 7 by phone. For any members of the public that requested to speak by phone on item 15 from yesterday's agenda, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Again, all speakers are in opposition of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record. I'm going to call you in groups of 5, so please listen for your name. Delia Rivera, Lauren Odemba, Aaron Suramoto Grassi, Ian Saruello, Margaret Baker. I'll call the next group of 5. Lillian Serrano, Patricia Mondrongan, Maria Chavez, Monica Langarica, Ethan Pelled. All right, not seeing any movement in the chamber. We'll now proceed with those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'll remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll start with our first caller.
Paul Henkin. Please brief the posted deputies on proper de-escalation and nonviolent response techniques to avoid the recurrence of last year's violent handling of Audra Morgan on a political infraction and also deportation. I am glad that there are less complainants here in the chamber than last year, but there is still seem to be too many legally wrong actions. It also seems that data collected by the sheriff said that the interview consent form the department gives to immigrants interviewed by ICE says that it intends to comply with ICE requests. So I'm not sure if we can trust her. The agenda proclaims that the sheriff does not engage or support immigration enforcement activities. That's what I mean. The sheriff is apparently still working on compliance with the Truth Act, even after 6 years. And we all heard in last year's Truth Act hearing, story after story about immigrants being arrested not by the sheriff's department, but as soon as they were released. Moreover, I am unsure how committed the department is to obeying laws and policies, given its obstruction on court document requests and apparent failure to enforce some policies. Operation Stone Garden, which you presented yesterday, sounds like a good program, more cooperation. I hope this is not more.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller. And while we're calling up the next speaker, any individuals that did not submit a speaker slip on item 15 that want to do so, we will accept those speaker slips today. So if you'd like to see the deputy clerk to fill out a request to speak, as well as those that are requesting to speak by phone.
Good morning. My name is Max, and I'm a lifelong resident of District 4. I'm calling in to oppose the Sheriff's Department's active collaboration with immigration authorities and the department's disregard for the rule of law and its belligerent violation of SB 54 last year. The Sheriff's Department's actions make San Diego unsafe, showing us it does not serve as a community advocate, but rather as a predatory institution responsible for tearing our community apart and breaking up families. Public safety requires that the system work for all. And the social contract is broken when that system points to law enforcement as a solution, but shrouds it in the fear of incarceration and deportation. This is no way to protect and serve, and as a voting San Diegan, I want to see efforts to keep my neighbors safe, regardless of their immigration status. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hello, my name is Lauren. I'm a resident of District 1 with the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties. I'm disappointed at the board's decision to postpone this forum last night and want to acknowledge Supervisor Vargas's right to come to her workplace free of racist remarks and threatening actions. It's very important for the public to be able to directly ask questions of the Sheriff's Department and the county, and our ability to do that was removed last night. The county is required to give 30 days notice to the public ahead of this forum, and I hope that you make decisions that allow for the public to provide their comments going forward. All San Diego County residents deserve to live without the fear that an encounter with law enforcement can lead to deportation and separation from loved ones. The Sheriff's Department's collaboration with DHS agencies make our communities less safe and use vital county resources and funds to violate the law and detain and deport our community members. ICE requests are optional for police to respond to, yet the Sheriff's Department actively chooses to use our county dollars to assist ICE in these efforts unnecessarily. In 2022, the Sheriff's Department responded to 674 notification requests and transferred 21 individuals directly into ICE custody. The Sheriff's Department violated SB 54 in 2022 by illegally transferring an individual into ICE custody. This is the second known violation since the law went into effect, and a perfect example of why the county should not be using local resources to collaborate with federal immigration authorities. It's unknown what happened to this individual, revealing the harmful impacts the Sheriff's Department's actions have on a person's life. Incarceration, detention, and deportation have lifelong effects that limit opportunities for all San Diegans to thrive. Immigrants with convictions are punished twice, once by serving their full sentence in jail or prison, and then by potentially being sent to immigrant detention and facing deportation. Immigrants and communities of color know that interacting with law enforcement often has extremely harmful impacts. I urge the San Diego County Sheriff's Department to immediately stop.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, not seeing any callers in the queue or any individuals that requested to speak this morning, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. So I think what we'll do now is I'm going to hand it over to you to ask some of the questions that were asked from the public that were emailed to us, right? So I'm going to go ahead and.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. There was an opportunity for members of the public to submit questions to the sheriff, and I'd like the opportunity to ask these questions to the sheriff directly. Again, these are questions that were submitted by the public in advance. Sheriff Martinez will start with the first question. It has multiple parts, so I'm going to read it in its entirety and then can repeat any portions as needed. The question reads, when you take a client into custody and determine they are undocumented, do you ask them whether they are represented or not? And if they are, do you contact their counsel to notify them? If not, why not? And if not, do you then give that information to ICE when they take custody of the immigrant? If not, why not?
I'm going to have Liliana answer that. Thank you.
We do not investigate, determine, or ask if someone is undocumented. Upon arrest, there is a question on the intake form, and the same is obtained during the booking interview. And this asks if someone is a U.S. citizen. If the individual responds no, then staff will ask if they would like for us to notify their consulate, in which consulate that would be.
The second question has 3 parts, so I'll start with the first part. What is the number of U.S. citizens that were released for the same exact convictions that the sheriff transferred folks to ICE for?
We don't currently track that information.
The second part, the Border Patrol currently has access to ARGIS, the Automated Regional Justice Information System. How can the sheriff guarantee that this data will not be used to deport community members?
Thank you. And I know there's been a lot of concern about tracking of information and sharing information with immigration authorities. I think there's a misunderstanding of exactly what ARGIS is. It's an information sharing network that's run and maintained by SANDAG. It's used by law enforcement in the region primarily to support investigations. There's an unsubstantiated concern that the Border Patrol or any other immigration enforcement authority uses this database as a way to track migrants. The notion that Border Patrol is doing this is simply misguided. There are policies and agreements in place that law enforcement works under that does not allow this database or any other local database from being used for immigration purposes. It's imperative that local, state, federal, and tribal law enforcement work together and share information in order to keep our communities safe. However, this database is not one of those systems that we use to communicate with each other. Thank you.
The last part, why does the sheriff continue to transfer individuals to ICE and notify ICE of release dates when other counties have already stopped doing so?
Yeah, and I've talked to other sheriffs in other counties. I don't think that's an accurate statement that other counties have stopped doing so as well, or at least not the sheriffs that I talked to for the reasons that some of the advocates believe. I appreciate that we continue to have the dialogue in San Diego, and I'll continue to meet with immigrant rights groups to support our community trust. I believe that state law strikes the right balance between public trust and public safety. And I'm responsible for public safety in my jurisdiction, which spans 4,200 square miles of unincorporated San Diego County and 9 contract cities. Most of the people in the county's jails do not come from my jurisdiction. They come from the 18 cities in the region, and I must also consider those communities. We have several threats to public safety in San Diego. One of the most pressing is the fentanyl crisis and drug trafficking that's killing our communities. I hear from communities that I serve, and overwhelmingly, I hear that the policies of the Sheriff's Department make them feel safer. We have a regional approach of working together in law enforcement, and it works. Local, state, federal, and tribal police work together for our shared mission, and that keeps us all safer. And I believe that the laws as they stand support that effort. Thank you.
Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the questions that were submitted by the public to the sheriff.
Thank you. I just have two questions, Sheriff. I don't know if my colleagues have any questions. One of them is just a clarification question. And I saw there was a presentation that was done yesterday from one of the groups, and they said some of the things that they felt that, my understanding is that you're meeting with the groups on a quarterly basis, right? I had a conversation with them yesterday, and they said that there are some items that they have requested of you and that you've all have come to terms with some of those, and it's a good, the relationship is working well as you're moving forward, and so I'm happy to hear about that. And so I just want clarification on one of the things that they had mentioned around the access to ICE to our county property in some of the jails and parking lots. And so is that because it's conflicting information? Because on the flyer it said, on the PowerPoint it said that ICE is no longer going into our jails, but then there was a question of whether or not ICE is still accessing county property in our parking lots and jails. So can you just clarify that for me, if that's still taking place or not?
Yeah, so we don't allow them into our facilities. Of course, they can park in our parking lots. I don't have any control over who parks in parking lots and facilities like that. We don't release people directly to ICE that way. I think there was some confusion as well. They thought that we were releasing people from court and that they were walking into the hands of ICE out in the court hallways. That's not the case. We never release anyone from court. They go back to the jail and they're released from the jail.
Okay. So no one's being released directly to ICE?
Right.
Okay. All right. And then the other question that I had is, you know, the Values Act is very clear about the process, and I think you've mentioned it already, that there's no judicial warrants for the individuals to be transferred to ICE. So I just want to better understand the process. I think there was 20 or 21 folks who were transferred without warrants, 20 or 21, right? I think that's what, 20. So I want to better understand what the process is on how the decision is made for that, when that happens.
So when someone comes into custody, there is a screening process. I mentioned during our PowerPoint, we have a jail population management unit that, based on state law, will review prior convictions, charges, to determine if it qualifies per SB 54 for us to be able to notify ICE of their release date or provide them with any information. So that screening is done up front. After that, what ends up happening is we will determine, based on whatever information ICE is requiring, if it is approved upon release, we'll make the notification, but we don't delay the release in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. All right. Those are the questions that I had. I just want to make sure that as we're having these conversations that we really, we've made a commitment to really make sure that we really are focused on the framework of equity and how we treat folks, and that we've worked really hard to make sure that everybody's treated the same way. And so as we're moving forward, I understand that there are cases where we're being very thoughtful about how we're doing this, but I want to make sure that we if there is a process to ensure that there are judicial warrants that need to take place in order for us to be able to do the process, that we do that, and that we don't go outside of what the requirements are when we're moving forward. So I just it's important to me that everybody's treated with the same type of equity as we're moving forward. So I appreciate that. Any additional questions?
I guess this is more of a process question. So there are parameters, though, that you do hand people over to ICE if it's within SB 54. If they've, I don't know, I'm not sure what the criteria might be, but there are conditions within SB 54 to allow transfers to ICE.
Yes.
Okay, and I won't have you elaborate, but I just want to make, because to me, cooperation between law enforcement agencies should always be paramount as well as far as fighting crime. And I realize we have to live under SB 54, but it does seem that cooperation is still happening when, under law, you're allowed to do that.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Thank you.
All right. See no additional questions. This concludes the meeting, and the meeting is adjourned. And we're going to take a 10-minute recess for our next meeting to begin.
Board will reconvene at 9:35 for the land use session of this meeting.
Chair. There's no roll call. Okay. We will now hear the report of actions taken yesterday in closed session. County Council, is there anything to report?
Yes, good morning. The Board of Supervisors met in closed session on October 24th, 2023, from 4:23 p.m. to 5:07 p.m. The board took no reportable actions. End of report.
We will now proceed with on-agenda public communications. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on today's agenda. The only action that the boards may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Reminder, according to the rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will get twice the allotted time for their comments, which is 4 minutes. As a reminder, according to the board rules and procedures, audience members should not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or anything that disrupts the proceedings. To better facilitate the meeting, we will have 5 speakers in person and 5 speakers via phone, and the rest of the non-agenda public communication will be heard at the close of today's meeting. Go ahead, clerk.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 15 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 3 individuals in person, and 12 requesting to speak by phone. For those that have requested to speak by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Robert Gurman, Carrie Chestnut, and Aries.
Good morning, Robert Gurman, Lakeside. I was going to give I have a slide. I was going to give information on the Taj Mahal at Lindbergh Field, but after listening to Supervisors Anderson's presentation on the non-camping ordinance, I'm changing topic. The targeting of the homeless regarding a fire threat and the Cedar Fire was in very poor taste. An inexperienced lost hunter in drought conditions started the Cedar Fire. An underfunded county fire department by the past administration fueled the circumstances regarding the Cedar Fire. Only after 20 people died in that fire did the county spend money to make sure it won't happen again. I knew 3 of the victims and their extended family. I housed fire victims on my property. The county was at fault. The county did not protect their citizens. Including the homeless living along the San Diego River waterway in Santee is nothing more than political propaganda. I saw the same game plan at the Santee City Council meeting. Santee approved building an emergency fire station based on a presentation which described the homeless people camping along a waterway as a fire danger because they had lighters. Then Santee approved $200,000 from their homeless fund for this fire station. The rest of the money comes from FEMA for a total of $1 million emergency funds using the danger of homeless people starting a fire. The fire station is for Gillespie Field because of poor response time and the refusal of the airport to base and maintain their own firefighting equipment. The site is on Department of Public Works property at the end of their runways. Any questions? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carrie Chestnut. I am a filmmaker focusing on environmental issues and an Elfin Forest resident. The first slide here is a photo of a buffer parcel managed as a wildlife preserve for 2 decades by the Department of Public Works. Not only did the San Diego Board of Supervisors vote unanimously to spend an extra $350,000 to have the San Marcos landfill blend in with the surrounding scenery, the San Alejo Hills development made an agreement with county to have this buffer and others most visible to homes and nature trails managed as a wildlife preserve. In addition, the definition of buffer land is to protect homes from the pollution, noise, truck activity, and unsightfulness of landfill operations. The next slide, what you will see next here is how this wildlife buffer parcel was damaged by the Department of Public Works. Community members have sent all the supervisors a slideshow to prove this asphalt was not necessary on this buffer. Surrounding residents also managed to get an official bid by a company who does work for the county to have this trash-filled asphalt removed. It isn't much, And if necessary, can we please get it on the agenda for a vote? Residents of San Marcos are asking the support of Jim Desmond, and who oversees their San Alejo Hills community, and us residents of Elfin Forest also need Tara Lawson-Reamer's support to restore our view and aid in wildlife conservation. Thank you.
Aries here. Okay. We're about to have the 4th Board of Supervisors district happening very shortly. I believe ACLU is collecting ballots and switching the votes. I would like you guys to do something about it, but I really doubt Nora or Lawson will do anything about it because they too know how easy this is done. How easy it is to open up a ballot, check the contents, and if you don't like it, you could switch it out. Michael Vu also knows this because he reduced the ballot types with the help of Nora Vargas and Joel. Yeah, Joel. I definitely understand that you helped get Michael Vu into the place. You helped because you wanted to make sure that you were secure. Your lobbyist will get you elected, keep you elected. That is what I'm afraid of. That is why you don't give a shit about any of us. That is why you act like you're all high and mighty. So I'm gonna make a special poster just for you. And I'm planning on going to the 4th Board of Supervisors district when they do this count, and I'm gonna go get all those people that you pissed off, and I'm hoping that they'll join me. And we'll go ahead and bring that subject up there because there is 0 ways that the registrar can verify ballots issued are the ballots counted. Ballots are unidentifiable. Yeah, continue looking away. Psychotic individual. Thank you very much.
We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I would like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we will begin with our first caller.
Paul the Bold, thank you, Robert Gurman, for your remarks. And let's get the lead out of that aviation fuel. Also, I am disappointed. I was disappointed this morning to look at the agenda and see nothing about meeting times and places being split. So please include that next time you decide to postpone an agenda topic. Also, the chairwoman, you are inflaming the in-chamber situation. Now, I mentioned in my letter to various dignitaries, copied to you as well, that the number of different local rules on speaking publicly at government meetings and boards confuses and restricts people from full expression of their views. Here's an argument for simple laws. James Madison drafted these ideas of what is wrong with the current government in advance of the Constitutional Convention of 1787. He mentioned, number 9, multiplicity of laws in the several states. In developing the evils which vitiate, or spoil, that is, the political system of the United States, it is proper to include those who are found within the state individually as well as those which directly affect the state collectively. Since the former class has an indirect influence on the general malady and must not be overlooked in forming a complete remedy. Among the evils then of our situation may well be ranked the multiplicity.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Kevin Stevenson. I'm going to do a lightning round of multiple different comments because I was not able to see the whole meeting yesterday. So real quick, I would just like to say thank you to Chair Vargas and to Board Member Lawson Reamer for voting in favor of Newsom's right to safety amendment proposal. And also thank you for not supporting Anderson's proposal letter to support the disastrous 1978 Prop 13. But I would also like to criticize the two of you for supporting Anderson's proposal for the unsafe camping ordinance. Like I said yesterday, it's not going to do anything to help the homeless. I get that you're not instating this ordinance right now, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to work whenever it is instated. So, yeah, I'm a little disappointed on that vote. But also, I would like to just point out that a bunch of people were not able to speak on the Truth Act, item 15, basically because Audra and Consuelo, with their shenanigans, successfully shut down the meeting mid-public comment at a time that is easier for people to show up than at 9 in the morning the following day. I'd just like to point that out. Oh, and also, to the individual who is entertaining this conspiracy about the ACLU supposedly changing votes, yeah, that's what a sore loser says when they know that Amy Reichert's going to lose because she's running in a 2.5-to-1 Democratic district as a right-winger, as an anti-vax conspiracy nut.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors and Chair Nora Vargas. I'm Diane Grace, a mother, a grandmother, and have served several decades as a youth organizer. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to share with you my thanks for the county's ordinance regarding a ban on the sale of addictive, candy-flavored tobacco products, especially e-cigarettes and other vaping devices. Your ordinance recognized that 85% of teens say they picked up e-cigarettes as a way to deal with stress and anxiety, only to realize much later that vaping can make their mental health worse and is addictive. Of course, Big Tobacco has spent billions marketing sweet-tasting and sweet-smelling e-cigarettes and vaping devices as tools for relieving worries and pressure. I expressed my concern that Big Marijuana is doing the same thing. Because I am passionate about protecting young people from marijuana use and encouraging good choice making, I became associated with a national parent organization, Johnny's Ambassadors, whose goal is to shine light on the dangers of high-potency, sweet-flavored marijuana products. Johnny's Ambassadors sponsors the Dab Walk every fall. As a reminder, dabs are a waxy residue which is made by putting pulverized marijuana into a tube and running butane, propane, ethanol, and carbon dioxide through it, creating a highly concentrated marijuana product that can be vaped or eaten. These high-potency marijuana concentrates are very dangerous to adolescent brain development. I share this information in hopes the board will reconsider the unfortunate proposal to add even more marijuana business.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker. For our next speaker, Consuelo, it's your turn to speak.
Okay.
Presentation on the non-camping ordinance. I'm changing topic. The targeting of the homeless regarding a fire threat and the Cedar fire was in very poor taste. An inexperienced lost hunter in drought conditions started the Cedar Fire. A underfunded county fire department by the past administration fueled the circumstances regarding the Cedar Fire. Only after 20 people died in that fire did the county spend money to make sure it won't happen again. I knew 3 of the victims and their extended family. I have fire victims on my property. The county was at fault. The county did not protect their citizens, including the homeless living along the San Diego River waterway in Santee is nothing more than political propaganda. I saw the same game plan at the Santee City Council meeting. Santee approved building an emergency fire station based on a presentation which described the homeless people camping along a waterway as a fire danger because they had lighters. Then Santee approved $200,000 from their homeless fund for this fire station. The rest of the money comes from FEMA for a total of $1 million emergency funds using the danger of homeless people starting a fire. The fire station is for Gillespie Field because of poor response time and the refusal of the airport to base and maintain their own firefighting equipment. The site is on Department of Public Works property at the end of their runways. Any questions?
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And yeah, government is no good. Local government, they're the problem. Wake up, people.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Peggy Walker. I am a public health educator. As we observe Red Ribbon Week this week to promote youth welfare, it's a good time to look at the difference between marijuana industry messaging and reality. The industry tells kids, it's just weed, it's natural, it's safe. This couldn't be more untrue. The reality is smokable weed at 25% THC and above does not occur naturally. It's a product of evolving cultivation engineering to increase THC content. Edibles, concentrates, and oils with THC potency ranging to 99% are the result of artificial chemical engineering and far beyond anything natural to a marijuana plant. Studies show those using 10% THC regularly are more likely to develop a psychotic disorder and addiction, and those using 10 or more times by age 18 are 2 to 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with schizophrenia, depression, and linked to suicide. Since 90% of addiction roots in early first exposure, preventing early onset must be everyone's priority. This board continuously expounds its compassion for vulnerable groups, and rightly so. Please recognize our youth as the most vulnerable victims of the profit-oriented cannabis industry. Stop widespread commercialization plans, and at the very least, make THC cap, now under consideration by multiple states and municipalities, a priority of this board to protect young people. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. And again, for all the remaining speakers, will be heard at the conclusion of today's session.
Wonderful. The next item on our agenda is the approval of minute statements of proceedings for the Sanitation District meeting of July 19, 2023, and the regular meeting of October 11, 2023. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present and voting aye.
Okay. We will now proceed with the formation of our consent calendars. Items number 1 through 7 in Sanitation District item number 1. Members of the public will be able to comment on the consent calendar after the supervisors pull the items they would like for discussion. Do you want to just go ahead and...
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chairman Vargas. I'd just like to note for the record that item 2 will be pulled for discussion because it's listed on the agenda as a notice public hearing.
Okay. So, Supervisor Anderson, anything to pull?
Nothing to pull, and I move.
Thank you.
It.
Supervisor Desmond?
Thank you, Chair. I have no items to pull. However, I do want to make a comment on item 7. This is a sunset review of board policies. Thanks PDS for all the hard work bringing these items forward. I support the item. However, we just received late last week a letter from the Rainbow Community Planning Group, and they had some interest in board policy I-1. They asked for about 5 different recommendations. My staff and I haven't really had a time to look at all of these, and I would like to ask, just direct our staff to take a look at these items and then get back to us on what the request is of the Rainbow Community Planning Group, item 7. So I'll second the motion for the approval of the balance of the consent calendar.
Okay. With that, we have a motion and a second, and then we're going to go ahead and open it up for public comment.
Thank you, Chairman Vargas. We have 5 total requests to speak on items on the consent calendar, all coming via phone. As a reminder, item 2 was pulled from the consent calendar for discussion, so any members of the public that have requested to speak on that item, please hold your comments until the board discusses that item. We'll receive public comment on that item separately. So for any members of the public that have requested to speak on the items on the consent calendar, if you could please dial into the conference line now and using the instructions that were provided to you, and we will give you a moment to do so.
It's Truth recovered barely from the Truth blast yesterday. It was so fun. I say item 1 is quit claiming the private roads of Larissa Lane and Nadia Court and Lakeside for road and sewer consolidation. Doesn't that sound fun? Larissa Lane, it's only going to be one street now. Item 1, I give a big stop sign to the Traffic Advisory Committee who keeps reducing speed limits everywhere. There's at least 10 different locations this year alone. I think it's going to be 13 now without neighborhood approval, as we've heard. Everyone look into AB 43 and AB 1938, which claims that any government entity in the state can lower speed limits anywhere by at least 10 miles per hour, bringing speed limits to almost to a complete halt to driving. And of course, that's the point. Item 3 is over $47,000 from the Park Society to pay for holiday events, activities, and equipment, animal care at parks, and a replacement bronze historic site marker for Los Penasquitos Park. Item 4 is over $29,000 in donations to cover registration fees and travel costs for county environmental health and quality staff to attend a conference held by the California CUPA Forum Board. It's supposed to be about subjects like fire and hazardous waste, but last year's CUPA conference, they had a golf tournament, a cornhole tournament, live music, raffles, and party games. Even Disneyland was a sponsor. So it sounds like they're not really focused on safety. They're pretty much trying to have a little Disneyland there. I don't like that. Items 5 and 6 are vacating a portion of Palmas Drive and 2 other areas for the future extension of Palmas Drive as a public street in Warner Springs, and a portion of Buena Vista Avenue, Point Parkway, and Spring Valley, because neither were ever constructed and are not county maintained. So that was a complete waste of time. And item 7 is repealing the policy on the distribution of notices of Board of Supervisors conferences on planning matters.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the lowering of the speed limit. That is all a part of the UN Agenda 21. People pay attention to what is happening. Agenda 21 is the United Nations agenda, and you all have to look it up. Let's see. Yeah, please look up UN Agenda 21. I'm going to sound like a broken record and mention it every opportunity I can. Especially to you staffers, wake up. The deputies, wake up. This is what's happening. It's going to affect us all. I'm done. Kevin Stevenson's an idiot. I'm done.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good job, Consuelo, because it is the UN Agenda 21 that's happening all around us, and people either know about it, don't care, or don't know about it and should learn about it, because it's rather sad and disturbing what they're doing, which is total enslavement, because that's why you're reducing these speeds. And, you know, other countries are going down to 20 miles an hour. It's just basically, you know, gets people out of their car because it's going to be faster to walk somewhere than to drive anywhere. So good job on that, being in lockstep, because, you know, we can't be having people driving. That would be crazy. They would have, you know, too much freedom. We can't have that either, right? Then we can control what they, you know, buy in their 15-minute zone. And, like, if they leave their 15-minute city, they can't use their credit card. So it'll be great. Yeah, and this whole Parks and Rec, you know, getting this money from somebody who assists ongoing and expanded programming. It's always a pay-to-play kind of a thing when we're doing business here. So it's just sad. And then this whole $29,000 for them to be certified in this program and whatnot. I mean, you guys, they should be learning about the lithium battery bombs that you guys want everybody to be in, and especially Sandag, right, Nora? And the fires that they cause, and the mitigation efforts that you're going to have to think up and pretty much make up, because there's no way to put out these fires that are started from this, and they're combustible again later on just from the fumes, and they're totally toxic to the environment. But, you know, why would we actually do something that would help, you know, expose that things that you're doing are, you know, totally corrupt and fraud, waste, and abuse? And then vacating parts of roads that you never used. It's like, you guys always do this. You hold on to property, don't do what you're supposed to do with it, and then later, you know, give it away. But what's happening is, like, people have...
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Sandra Farrell, Chair of the Twin Oaks Valley Community Sponsor Group. Hello, Honorable Supervisors. Twin Oaks Valley also submitted a letter regarding Policy I-1 that will be sunsetting. A couple of things to add on to what Rainbow suggested was a couple of things. One is we'd like in our group, because we only have 4 seats filled of a 7-member group, and we are constantly asked now from the county to look at areas that are outside of our planning group to give some of the people who live in those areas a way to communicate to the county. What we'd like to do is ease the ownership residency requirement to add 1 member, and having a member from more the Buena Creek area that's near the Sprinter station would be very helpful, since there's more projects coming up in that area that require some review. That, as well as we'd like some way in Policy I-1 for assistance to advertise for new members. Currently, we only use the free social media to advertise. And in the past couple of years, we've only had 3 applications, and only 2 of those were met the basic requirements. So we need some way to get our message out there. Most people in our planning area don't know who the Twin Oaks Valley Community Sponsor Group is, so they don't come before us unless the county advises them that they need to come before a group. So it'd be really helpful if we had even something like a simple postcard or something to send out to all the residents so that they know about our group, and hopefully we'll get some more people on the sponsor group. With 4 vacant seats, or 3 vacant seats, we should be able to get some more. So those are my basic comments in addition to what Rainbow submitted, and I'll send a copy of this to Supervisor Desmond's office. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent calendar.
Thank you. Seeing no discussion, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Okay, we will now proceed with item number 2, and it's a notice public hearing, East County Advanced Water Purification Project, open space vacation, and addendum to previously adopted mitigated negative declarations. I'm not sure if I have to read all that. Do you want me to read? PDS 2023 vacancy 23001 and PDS 2023 ER 2314001 Lakeside Community Plan Area. September 27, 2023, set hearing to October 25th, 2023, hold hearings. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the clerk to call the speaker.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 4 total requests to speak, all come in via phone. Also like to note for the record, we received 1 e-comment on this item, which was in opposition. For any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and we will give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. And again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And we'll go ahead and begin with our first caller. For our first caller, Paul, it's your turn to speak. We'll come back to you. Audra, it's your turn to speak. You may need to unmute yourself. We'll try another caller. Truth, are you able to unmute yourself and begin your comments? Chairwoman, it looks like we're having technical difficulties with the call-in studio, so we may need to take a break to address it.
Okay.
I'm comfortable taking 24 hours.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We were having some technical difficulties with our call-in system. For those members of the public that were still in line to speak, we'll give you some time here to call back in so you can finish your public comment. Again, please dial back into the conference line now so you can finish your public comment. We'll give you some time to do so. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's truth, and I made an amazing comment that nobody heard. Thank you for that. And I heard Joel say he's willing to stay 24 hours to hear it. Good to know. Before Jim was all up on this item last time, and you almost made it sound like the people of Borrego Springs will have personal control of their own water. But from reading the item, it sounds like it really gives the county the ability to have a say. It says, quote, the court provided holders of groundwater rights in Borrego Springs to work together alongside the county and the Borrego Water District to manage the Borrego Basin through a court-approved process, end quote. I'm against the people in Borrego Springs becoming a water slave to a new bureaucracy called the Water Master in order to use their own groundwater. You can make the argument, well, we're going around, and it's just a little bit of evil versus the full state evil. But I'm against all evil, so I don't compromise. Unlike Joel, where he said, I get along because I'm easy to get along. Well, I'm not, because I refuse. But I'm wondering how that relates to item 7 that repealed the policy on the planning matters, because clearly there isn't a high level of citizen participation in the planning process affecting issues like local water control. People don't even know what government is. That includes not knowing what a board of supervisors is, which is part of why people in Borrego are not even commenting about this issue. I'm also against the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, giving the state quite a lot of control. And this is what I've heard before.
I'm willing to come back every day of the week and have a board meeting to make it so that all the public has access to speak and be heard.
That's what I expect from everybody on every single item. You come back every day and you hear my comment, and hopefully it actually came through this time. I'm really hoping, because I thought it was a very good one, the first one I gave. Hopefully this one was better since I got more time. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Yeah, so anything you want to do to recycle water and give people back their own sewage or anything of the like and poison the water just to pretend that it's clean, I say you don't approve this so the construction can't begin, because what you should be doing is spending money on drilling for water. Waters of the deep. It's just like oil that comes up abundantly and endlessly from the earth. But instead, we're deciding to recycle people's sewage and whatnot and give it back to them and put extremely expensive and deadly toxic chemicals in the water because you're acting like that's going to provide, sustainable supply of drinking water. It actually isn't, especially when we sit here and we divert water out of, the dams and different things into the ocean. We just waste it a lot of times because most of the dams don't even have the ability to hold what they need because they're not being taken care of. But instead of giving people actually fresh and clean water, we're poisoning them and acting like that's the only option that we have. So anything that you're doing to put that forward, I would say no, because you should be, providing people with something that you don't have to poison. Even it's just the fluoride. It's like we have to have that in the water. Well, it's a neurotoxin. And we wonder why people have all of these issues as well, because what you're doing is giving them toxins in the water and acting like it's a way to give them healthy water. And you want to, act like you care about people's health and whatnot, but you can't say that on one hand when you're willing to poison them and give them their own sewage back on the other. it's just sad and negligent because, you know, people believe that that's the only source that you could possibly give them, and they don't understand that there's water that can just, I mean, look at the wells that people have, you know, and now we want to like tap into, you know, messing with those as well.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Swallow. It's again another quick Google search, reclaiming water and the dangers. Simple Google search. Water reclamation can produce significant amounts of aerosols, which can cause illness in individuals exposed to these toxic aerosols. Let's see, what are the risks of using recycled water? Here you go. However, let's see. Water that is not treated to the appropriate level for the end use can pose significant human health risks. These include chronic effects, such as cancer or genetic mutations, or acute side effects such as neurotoxicity or infectious diseases. I mean, once again, this is the answer for government. We have an abundance of water. I mean, it's just like the county spraying freaking Roundup prior to a supposed hurricane, okay? So there's so much, I don't even understand how you guys don't get this shit. It's very simple. It is very simple. What else? Let me see. Understanding the risks of water reuse, potential for expanding. Danger of recycled water. Gosh, you can go on and on. There's pages of this on Google. But hey, that's government. UN Agenda 21, here we come. You will eat your own shit and drink your own piss and be happy. Boss Schwab. I'm done.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
All the bold. The idea is to treat water containing feces, garbage, and stuff you throw away with processes which will hopefully filter out everything. I hope. I know our whole house water filter does not. Then you'll add chlorine. I went to a Helix Water District meeting and the water tasted highly overchlorinated, almost like the shit it's supposed to clear up. The increasing number of pathogens in the waste to be filtered are artificial chemical stuff, probably impervious to chlorine anyway, like PCBs and mRNA. And so you may not need as much chlorine as you think for your water purification. Since the Tijuana River sewage thing is an emergency, I think it would be more than proper to devote half or all of chlorine for this project to the Tijuana sewage. This would ease the threat to health and safety there, while diminishing threat of over-concentrations of chlorine in the Mount Helix Water District. I also hear that you're trading biologically preserved area for a pipeline, and replanting is scheduled for 2025, but not all sensitive plants can simply be replanted. I believe the whole project should be put on hold. And by the way, I'm not sure why you say if the item is not heard on September 27th, there will be a significant delay, because it was. Are you trying to pressure us into making a hasty decision? And pressure tactics and all that stuff. That's why.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present and voting aye.
All right. With that, this
Non-agenda.
Oh.
We have 7 left.
All right. Well, sorry about that. I skipped something. We'll now go to non-agenda public comment. There you go.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We still have 7 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, all coming via phone. Again, for those requested to speak via phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using those instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
Hey, it's truth. I think non-agenda just got gavelled for being off topic. Yesterday, Nora, you said, we're going to wait as long as we have to continue the truth meeting. Well, so much for that. Probably for the better that it ended since it was such a long day. On the way out, I even heard Simon Guzman say, everybody's racist. So it sounds like everybody needs to get some sleep. But I do still stand by what I said, Nora, that for the most part, I personally thought you handled things well. For those that weren't in person, I did see Nora try to make an attempt to personally resolve the not so happy ending. That's better than a heartless response, just my minority opinion. And just candidly, that was a long day for me in multiple ways. My day started with almost no sleep because I had a bit of a premonition that turned out to be even more colorful, packed, and true than I could have ever imagined. I lived the whole book in one day. I talked to people from every political spectrum and perspective, a gang member, sheriffs, a couple of different rights organization reps, homeless advocates, and different county workers. I'm very grateful for this crazy life full of all kinds of people. So now I have a related thought challenge for everyone. What makes America a country? Every single person in this country is different and unique. So what holds us together? So many have different religions, different lifestyles, different accents, different languages, different food, and different beliefs. So what unifies us, if anything? The answer, freedom. The freedom to be how you want to be and to live your life the way you want to, as long as you're not encroaching upon another's rights. Very simple. So it's no wonder that right now there is the least amount of unity we've ever seen because we've lost more and more freedom every year for at least the last 90 years. But the mindset solution is actually very simple. Thinking about what it is that unifies us, accepting that as the foundation of our country, and then defending it until the bitter end for every single fellow American, no matter what your differences are. That's the only unifying factor we have. So I would like people to consider that. Don't be so quick to judge.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Alejandra Trujillo Elizalde. I am a resident of District 1. As an advocate of the San Diego Audubon Society Advocates Program, I'm here to make a non-agenda comment on the general land use of San Diego County. We are grateful for the city's approval of the San Diego County Native Landscape Program a little under a year ago in December 2022, and are looking forward to the positive impacts to come over the next 5 years. Protecting the region's massive geographic and biological diversity is imperative for the health of our animals, birds, insects, and human residents. During my time as an Audubon advocate, we have reflected on the importance of providing educational materials to the public. We must leverage local organizations such as HOA for the propagation and implementation of the materials. I urge the board and the advisory group for this issue to continue the work this upcoming fiscal year 2024-2025. As stated in the program's recommendations document, native plant landscapes can create habitat connections across urban zones, each guarding the habitat, every neighborhood a wildlife corridor. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, Chair Vargas. This is Ann Riddle sharing, I hope, thanks and good news. First of all, thanks that we can call in via Zoom. For many of us who have to call in from our work site or who live really far away from downtown San Diego, this is a blessing. And some good news that comes from Vista last night. For those of us who live in the North County and unincorporated areas and work there, we depend and listen carefully to the cities that adjoin our unincorporated land. And last night at Vista City Council, they moved forward on a policy I'd like to suggest to the county. They are going to put a cap on tobacco retailers. And as there is attrition for tobacco retailers, that number will drop. So they capped at the number they have now, and over time, tobacco retail licenses will decrease as I mentioned, that there's attrition. And they are wanting to do this to improve the health of their citizens, because as they know, as we do, who work with young people, 90% of all smokers begin before the age of 18, and no one starts after the age of 25, virtually no one. And so if we want to improve the health of our young people and our general public citizens and reduce the sort of tobacco waste we see in our environment, a cap on tobacco retailers is a wonderful place to start. No city or county needs to enable more tobacco retailers in our communities and neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Joel, the way you were talking about people burning alive yesterday, the homeless, that was very distasteful, and it's just disturbing that you have to basically use that in order to try and push your agenda. And Nora, everything that you've been doing to silence people has been getting more and more aggressive. And, you know, you sit there and when you preface that, you know, everybody's going to be off topic today, so blah, 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 that means that you've already determined that anything that is going to be said is already off topic, whether or not you've heard it or not. And you sit there and you know, even under closed session or even on a non-agenda, you've silenced Michael before, saying that he's off topic when it's non-agenda. So there's no topic that you could be off on. And even in closed session, there was no information. And yet when you don't start hearing things that you don't like that is calling you guys out, you silence the people, and you continue to do it in a excessive manner. And it makes people not want to come in or feel like that they can speak their voice. Because you're constantly the one determining whether or not it's off topic, just like whether or not something is racist. I wasn't saying something to put you down. I'm expressing who you are, what you are from Tijuana. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then when you sit there and you gaslight people and say that they're being racist and you're not going to put up with that, or that it's your meeting and you're talking and so people need to shut up, it's like, no, it's the people's meeting and you work for the people. And the way you treat us is really, really bad. And it just shows that you don't care unless it's someone who's a stakeholder who comes in and it's a pay-to-play kind of thing. And, you know, when we sit here and expose things that you guys are doing, we have every right to do that. And you have no right to silence it. But yet you sit there and do that. And then you say you want people to come in and act like it's us who are the ones ruining everything, when it's the way that you're conducting yourself. You know, it's a reflection of that. And it's sad.
Thank you. Your time is up. And just to note for the record, that speaker was Audra. Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning.
All right. With that, our meeting is adjourned.
The next regular meeting of the board will take place on Tuesday, November 7th at 9 a.m.